Thanks everyone for having us today, and we have a very exciting guest with us, Sushant Hiray. Welcome. Thanks for having the time to have a conversation with us. We'd love to learn more about you. Can you do a brief background about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Sushant. I'm the Senior Director of AI here at RingCentral. Primarily focus on the building of a product called RingSense, which is RingCentral's first flagship AI product, where we are analyzing all of conversational data which our customers are having on the RingCentral platform, and we help them give them insights. We help summarize the conversations, but more importantly, help them optimize a lot of their workflows. And so my team is basically focused on building this product. We launched it last year, doing like amazing, growing 2x quarter over quarter. So we've had great fun building out this product. So that's kind of what I do these days. Prior to this, I was also a startup guy. I co-founded a company called RetrieveX, which was a speech AI company. We were sort of building out APIs for helping developers build different speech applications. And so that is what got acquired by RingCentral, and that's how I came here.
I have so many questions, but before getting into the technical details, tell me about where are you coming from? What it took you to had a lot of contributions in open source, very important ones, and also how did you start your own company?
Yeah, totally. I'm originally from India, and as with, I was always interested in tech, and so ended up going into IIT Bombay, studied computer science, and that's how my journey into computer science actually started. I was super curious about all different fields within CS. I was equally excited about core systems as I was excited about the newer stuff like machine learning when I was in university. And so I dabbled my hands in all of it and ended up sort of loving the machine learning aspect of it. I did a couple of courses on it, did a project with a professor around cancer imaging and figuring out like which part of an image could be a cancer nodule or something. And so that's kind of what was my foray into AIs. Beyond that, I've always been a tinkerer at heart, and so always excited about going to hackathons, just building some stuff for fun. And that's what got me into open source. I sort of randomly met some guys who were part of the Mozilla Foundation in India, and that got me intrigued about, there's this whole thing about open source contribution, and anybody could go ahead and commit code to it. And so that's how I came into it, started focusing on contributing some stuff to core Firefox. And back then Firefox just started like this thing called Firefox OS, and so I helped do a lot of evangelism for that, helped organize a few hackathons. And so that's been my journey around coding, open source, and that's how I've sort of moved on to the next phase of my life. Yeah.
It's very impressive from India to have so much contribution and impact, especially on the Firefox side and open source, and then CMPI as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious, so what was the beginning? Why did you decide to start your own company, DeepEffect?
Yeah, so super exciting. I after I graduated from university, I joined this company called Buniatyan. We were a predictive health analytics company, working on like humongous amounts of data, of healthcare data, and trying to do machine learning on top of it. One of the problems we were solving was, given I look at the history of your data, can I predict, are you at risk of like diabetes, right? And so that's how I got my first introduction into real world AI. It's all about data, very little about algorithms, and even little about the rest of the things. And so spend a lot of time doing engineering around how do you create these data pipelines for massive amounts of data. And so that's how I grew my career at Buniatyan. But we were always feeling like the progress which healthcare industry makes was super slow. But we were always excited about building things much faster, because we felt like AI was getting super hot and there was a lot of opportunity here. And so that's where I met my co-founder in Buniatyan, and we started this company called DeepEffect, primarily as a foray into not specific healthcare, but trying to do speech healthcare, like trying to analyze your voice and figure out, can we extract emotions out of it? Can we extract different things out of your voice? And are there enough parameters to actually reliably predict, some artifacts around it? That's when we started DeepEffect, and we sort of came across this problem while we were building this stack. There's this problem called speaker diarization, which was who spoke when. On face of it, we thought, transcription is a solve. Like Google had this API, it could give transcription good enough. not great, but as long as you're a white American male, it worked. So, but we were like, okay, fine. But as you started driving deeper into it, we needed to know like when is Sushant talking, when is David talking, and so that's when we realized like, oh, there is a missing layer here. There is a layer before transcription which needs to be solved to get like amazing results off the bat. And so we started focusing on that, and then we created an entire suite of APIs around this. Is like, hey, you can give us an audio stream and we can give you everything you need to know about this audio. We'll tell you who spoke when, how much time did they speak, what was their emotion, and you can pick and choose what you want, and we'll give you all of the data. This enabled a lot of our customers to actually build analytics around this. And so COVID came, and so suddenly there was a huge rush for a technology such as this, because so many meetings started happening video conference, and people like, oh, I need to know what happened in this meeting. Can I get summary out of a meeting and whatnot? And so we started building out summary as a service on top of all of the things that we already did. And so RingCentral was a customer of us, and then we felt like this was a natural fit. We had great technology. They had huge distribution of people who are speaking over RingCentral platform, and so that's how we decided to join hands with RingCentral, and so here we are.
This is very impressive. So now you're inside RingCentral, dealing with terabyte, petabyte scale data.
Oh yeah.
So what are the key challenges of operating on this large scale data?
It's great, right? One of the real cool stuff which I found was at scale, you kind of really know when AI breaks, right? When you're a startup, you kind of see small amounts of data, and so it's very easy to build POCs. In today's day and age, it's very hard to actually convert that into a reliable product which works at scale, especially for a company like RingCentral, where we have such wide variety of customers. We have like mom and pop shops all the way to like larger enterprises who use RingCentral. And so being able to build tooling around this, being able to build models around this data is very tricky, because you have people with different accents, for example. You need transcription to be reliable. Once you have good transcription, now you want summaries to be reliable. But then, we realize not everybody wants the same summary. You want something else, I want something else. Now how do we give user the option to configure how to extract a lot of this? And so that's where you start off seeing a lot of like failure conditions at scale, and being able to first find out that something is failing itself is such a difficult task in AI, and then sort of taking measures on how do you detect it. But once you detect, what do you do, right? Previously you used to train your own model, so the next thing to do is, okay, I'll just train a new model once I have enough data. That is simple enough. Now with LLMs, you're not really even training new models as you were previously. So you're handling a lot of different ways to handle hallucinations, for example, and take it sort of, you have this whole layer around how do you make sure we are giving good quality output. And then at the same time, once the output is done, if a user interacts with it and says, I do not like this, how do you not take all of this telemetry data but then improve the service, right? Because everybody day and age talks a lot about AI, it's self-healing and all of that. It's not magical. Somebody has to actually build it to be self-healing, and so there is a lot of pipeline that needs to happen. So yeah, those are like the problems at scale we are looking at.
You add this redundancy, building the end-to-end compound systems.
Oh yeah.
To make it work. I'm curious, you deal with a lot of sensitive data as well.
Yes.
In the conversation.
Oh.
How do you handle the privacy?
And so that's one of the first problems that comes for us is, how do you redact data? How do you redact reliably at scale to make sure you're not even sending sensitive data to any of the LLM providers, right? People have their phone number, credit card numbers, SSN numbers, super sensitive data, and being able to redact reliably at scale itself. There is so many open source projects out there which talk about, hey, you can redact very well, but when you say it's like 95% accurate, those 5% error is huge at scale, and it's scary, and especially when you deal with very such sensitive data. And so being able to access and being able to sort of understand, work with customers to figure out how to run this at scale has been it's been an interesting journey for us as well.
And you have seen the recent releases by OpenAI as well, going to end-to-end, like audio speech. So what's your take? What do you think? Where's the models are evolving into? You've worked in this speech recognition for a long time, and you did all this manual.
Everybody in speech has always tried to build the speech-to-speech models. Not speech-to-speech models, but speech-to-speech experiences, right? And so I remember back in the day we had such tiny models for speech recognition, and then a tiny model to fix the speech recognition, and then once you have what output should be, then you have a tiny TTS model to actually give the output back. Given like that whole complicated pipeline is now completely moved to something like, oh, you give speech, we input is speech, output is speech, which is great. As somebody who's building end-to-end applications, being able to sort of take away all of this complicated mess from the infrastructure certainly is useful and will sort of empower a lot of developers to build great applications. The other flip side of this is because it's emitting speech, you still need to figure out how to control it. What if it starts blabbering nonsense? And you don't want that, right? If you're a consumer app, maybe it works, but for a business who's selling into other businesses, you need to be super tight control as to what do you show, what do you speak. And so till now we've always worked with textual data, which has been, it's easy enough to identify if something is going wrong, handle it, not even show it or redo it, right? In speech, the error margin is so low. If you have already started speaking, which is incorrect, handling it reliably and then figuring out, oh, I need to redo it, which will immediately create such a problematic experience for an end user. So there is a lot of interesting problems which are now going to come up as we migrate towards the speech-to-speech systems.
But everything real time, everything should be time sensitive.
Exactly, everything is time sensitive, and at the same time, you're not just talking to a bot, right? You're trying to achieve a certain outcome. Maybe it's a contact center outcome is like somebody wants to reset their password or somebody wants a refund or whatever, right? And being able to sort of not just do conversational, like being able to be good at conversations is one part of it, but being able to understand your data, your specific accounts data, for example, and then sort of giving responses is kind of like the key. I know OpenAI is doing great there, and I'm sure all the other providers will eventually catch up and come up to some shape or form there. So being able to now take this and give it back to the end customer is going to be game changing. Although as a consumer, I don't know how I feel if I will end up talking to so many bots. So which is kind of flip side, right? So, but it's
Maybe
an interesting.
I had a biased opinion, especially when you talk to the travel agency customer
Oh,
support.
yeah.
I would have much more preferred ChatGPT to talk to me with optimizing my preferences
Yeah.
rather than people.
And if it does a great job,
Yes.
you would rather talk to a bot than talk to a human.
100%.
But that's sort of where real products are going to be built, right? How do you sort of take this amazing technology but now really solve certain problems, right? So many people, like, we have oversold this promise of chatbots, right? Text chatbots on websites, and now you see it and you get pissed off. Oh, I don't want to talk to this, right? Because it never worked. It was gluey mess, and it never really solves problems. And so people typically are, I would say, the impression that we've given with chatbots has not been great. And so being able to naturally move towards a voice to voice where you need even better accuracies and even better understanding how things work, it's kind of going to be an interesting space. But yeah, we're super excited about it.
One last question. I'm very curious. What do you see? What are you most excited about the next 5 years? What is the thing that's like drives you every day?
Especially in AI, talking about next 2 months is going to be equally difficult. But one of the things I think multimodal, as we talked a little bit about earlier, is going to be game changer, right? Till now, multimodal systems were not truly multimodal. They were like, oh, this is one model. It can do speech separately. It can do vision separately. It can do text separately. But now we are sort of entering this true era of truly multimodal, where the model inherently understands text, inherently understands speech. Together, it can come up with something more, right? And we are already seeing glimpses of how AI generated videos could be, and we are also experimenting a lot on that. We're trying to do this fun thing where you guys have probably seen Google's Notebook LM, which is such a great way to show promise, right? Now, if you just think about how this, once it really starts working at scale, it's going to phenomenally change how we interact with systems, hopefully for the good.
Hopefully. I think that's what we are all working on. Thanks
Yes.
a lot for being here today, and
Awesome.
great having you and got a lot of insights. Enjoy
Thank you
the
so much.
rest of the day and make sure, and talk to other people as well.
Thank you so much. This was great.